This is the story of a girl named Jessica. Jessica was a girl from a very poor family. Her mother passed away when she was just 8 years old. She lived with her father and younger brother. Her father would often come home drunk and beat Jessica. One day, things got so bad that Jessica had to run away from home with her younger brother. They fled from Nagpur and arrived somewhere new. At just 15 years old, Jessica had made the decision to escape, but she had no idea how she would take care of herself and her 9-year-old brother in an unknown place. Jessica and her brother John sat outside a church, begging for food. While passing by, a woman noticed them and approached to talk. When Jessica told her everything, the woman felt deeply sorry for them. She took them with her to the church, and Jessica and John started living there. Jessica got John admitted to the church's school, and she herself became part of a prayer group. Soon Jessica devoted herself completely to church life, and eventually, the church made her a nun. But after becoming a nun, strange things started happening to Jessica, things she could never have imagined. One night, while sleeping in her room, Jessica suddenly began having violent seizures. She screamed as if someone was beating her mercilessly. Hearing her cries, other nuns rushed into her room and were shocked to see her condition. Jessica's body was stiff, and her eyes had turned completely white. She was screaming in agony, but the voice coming from her mouth wasn't hers. It was a deep, manly voice. Seeing this, one of the nuns threw holy water on Jessica, and immediately smoke started rising from her skin. Within moments, Jessica calmed down. After this incident, Jessica's health started deteriorating, and her behavior changed drastically. She stopped coming to church and began wandering the corridors late at night. Sometimes she would laugh uncontrollably, and other times she would make eerie, animal-like growls in a man's voice. She would even roar at people aggressively like a beast or sit in a corner crying for hours. Everyone in the church realized that Jessica was possessed, so they began preparing for her exorcism. On the night of the exorcism, a nun named Juventus went to check on Jessica in her room, but Jessica wasn't there. Suddenly, terrifying whispers filled the room, but Jessica was nowhere to be seen. As Juventus turned to leave, her heart nearly stopped in fear. Jessica was standing against the wall wearing a black gown. In Christianity, black clothing is worn when someone dies. Blood was dripping from Jessica's mouth and she was growling like a wild animal. Then, without warning, she lunged at the nun. Hearing the commotion, others rushed into the room, and as soon as Jessica saw them, she started screaming like a madwoman. The priest began reciting holy verses. As soon as holy water was sprinkled on Jessica, she let out an agonizing scream and in an attempt to escape, jumped out of her window. Jessica survived, but her spine was severely damaged, leaving her paralyzed forever. After this, the exorcism became easier, but by the time they could complete it, the demon had already left Jessica's body. Jessica was admitted to the church's hospital, but the priest still wanted to understand why all of this had happened to her. To uncover the truth, they decided to hypnotize Jessica and launched a small investigation. After thorough research, they discovered that Jessica's mother had been a member of a cult, one that practiced dark magic and worshipped the devil. Jessica's mother had performed several rituals to please the devil. When Jessica was little, her mother had even tried to offer her body for demonic possession, but her father intervened and saved her. However, by then, it was already too late. At just 4 years old, Jessica had started speaking in strange languages. Her face had become distorted, and she even declared that she would be the cause of her father's death, saying that only after his death would the devil reveal its true form in this world. Due to a failed black magic ritual, Jessica's mother died. Jessica's father, realizing that she was possessed, began distancing himself from her and eventually grew to hate her. On the night Jessica ran away with her brother, she had poisoned her father's alcohol, leading to his death. After that, Jessica became completely possessed. This meant that she had willingly allowed the demon to enter her. After learning the truth, the priests were horrified. They then called Jessica's brother John, and when they examined him, they found strange marks on his back and hands. It became clear that Jessica had started following in her mother's footsteps, performing occult rituals and using her brother's body in devil worship ceremonies. Once the police learned of this, they launched multiple investigations against Jessica, but by then, her health had worsened drastically. In the end, she died. After her death, the church took full responsibility for John. Even after Jessica's death, the church members continued to pray for her soul's liberation.